and then we snatch it right back.
It all depends. Some of us never had democracy from the beginning, so they take it and then they give it and then they take it again.
Here's a little democracy. Here, we'll let you write it right on the corner of 7th and Market. Rent Thomas Jefferson a house. Go write some democracy. And now, in the same city, just blocks away, we're going to snatch it right back.
Oh, Lord.
Tell you that you don't have a right to govern yourselves accordingly, as we say in the church. You can't govern and oversee your police department. No, it's for the politicians. Isn't that crazy? This is Philly, right?
It is Philly.
Can't see it right now because it's covered in snow, but this is Philly, right? I'm just asking the question, is this or is this not Philly?
It's
Yes.
Philly.
All right, folks, this is the Power Hour brought to you each and every Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. by Power Interfaith. Sitting across from me is none other than Bishop Dwayne David Royster.
And sitting across from me is the incomparable Reverend Dr. Mark Kelly Tyler.
All right, and holding it all down is the lady who has snow chains on her tires, I'm sure. Either that or she just brought her sleeping bag yesterday. I don't know how she did it, but everything is all good this morning. What's up, Kwesa?
Good morning.
I'm not going to ask.
Please don't. Oh my gosh.
Did you stay over?
No, but I made it in, but I barely got any sleep last night because people in my court were, I don't know, they were trying to drive around in the snow. They kept getting stuck. They were yelling and cussing and angry yesterday. So, I want a couple hours of sleep, but I made it. Good morning.
What time do you have to leave this morning to get in?
I left around 4-ish. I got up
Wow.
at 3. And I left around 4-ish, and I got here at 5 o'clock. Yeah.
Wow.
That's Kwesa. That's commitment.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We appreciate you.
I'm telling you,
Thank
that's
you for coming in.
that's commitment right there, folks. You see, we suffer for you all for this show. Some of us suffer more, but we suffer for you for this show because we want you to have good information. And it's important that we have WURD radio, not only the 900 signal at 900 AM signal, 96.1 FM, but also to have us on, online, wordradio.com, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, in the App Store, because we offer you something that other places don't. It is a unique Black perspective. Now, this is not a news show, but we certainly talk about news and current events and give our spin on it. But, a lot of what you see that kind of passes itself for news these days on cable network in particular is not really news either. And but very often the stories that are important and germane to the Black community get left out. I won't even say being swept under the rug because you got to know about it before it gets swept under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest that a lot of these stations don't even mention our stories.
Well,
At all. How do you do it? I was just watching MSNBC, one of the shows I check out each morning, getting prepped for for each day. I'm like, what, a whole hour, they didn't even talk about Hamilton.
Hamilton?
Hamilton's back in the news. They didn't
I
mention
did not realize that. I missed that
Oh.
one myself.
No, I'm sorry, bro. I'm not talking about Hamilton the musical. My bad.
You talking about Hamilton on the $20 bill?
No, not even that Hamilton. Hamilton,
Okay.
Georgia.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Georgia.
What happened in Hamilton, Georgia? Was that the
Hamilton.
video you sent me?
That's the video. That's Hamilton. They ain't talking about Hamilton at all. Hamilton, Georgia. Good morning to all the folk on Facebook Live. Hit the share button for us as well. So in case you missed it, because your favorite news outlet chose to just kind of, overlook it or missed it or whatever, Hamilton, Georgia is back in the news. And, God, it's not for good reasons. And they have a Black mayor, too. Probably just got his hand over his face right now. Seriously, y'all. You know that song that they made by the woman who got arrested Well, I think a security guard is actually.
You're going to lose your job. You're going to lose your job.
You're about to lose your job.
Yeah.
You're about to lose your job. Because you ain't saying nothing. Yeah, they should play that for these two guys, these two cops in Hamilton. I mean, you would imagine this would be like really newsworthy, given the fact that the police have been in the news quite a bit lately for their misbehaving all around the country. Two more cops have to learn that when you're rocking a body cam, the thing could like start recording at any time. Be on your best behavior when you got a body cam on. Actually, you should be on your best behavior if you're a cop, period, just because you're a cop. You're out there trying to protect people, so you shouldn't have these biased attitudes. So in prepping for a protest that was coming their way last summer in Georgia in the wake of, this was actually in the wake of the killing of the young man at Burger King in Atlanta. Really tragic story. We remember who grabbed the taser from one of the officers and they shot and killed him. Well, these two were just a couple of officers just yucking it up about that protest. That's where it started.
Some good old boys.
Just some good old boys. Yeah. We need the Dukes of Hazzard theme song now, right? Yeah, they roll around in the General Lee, just having a good time. Bo and Luke out there talking, right? So Bo and Luke get into this conversation that starts off all wrong to begin with, because one starts with the whole, if I ever had to blank a N-word, talking about women, it would be Keisha Lance Bottoms, not Stacey Abrams. That's where they started. So just in the event that somebody comes, I guess, at gunpoint and makes you have to be with a black woman, you want to pick which one. That's where this starts. And it goes, so as bad as that is, it actually gets worse.
It does. It really
does. Because then he starts bragging. Well, actually, he kind of bemoans the fact, as they start talking about slavery, he bemoans the fact that he can't find more evidence of slaveholding in his family. He's kind of sad about it, if you listen to it. He's like, yeah, I did a lot of Ancestry.com. And, when I look at Ancestry, I'm looking for family. I'm just trying to connect to anybody because, we're cut off from Africa. My man is on there looking for slaveholders. And he's like, yeah, I found a little bit. We had a couple of slaves. But hell, man, my wife's family, good God from Zion, notorious slaveholders. And he's like all happy. He's like, her ancestor, I forget his name. I want to say it was Cooter. But his name, I can't remember. Stay with the whole Dukes of Hazzard thing. Right. He says, I forget his name, but he was in the newspaper as being the meanest man in this county in West Virginia because of how he treated his slaves. Oh my God!
It goes on though.
Yeah. Please finish it because we're not even close to being at the worst part of this story.
Well, no, because then he starts asking the question. I don't understand why it was so bad.
It being what?
Slavery.
Right.
He's like, I don't understand why it was so bad. He said, you give them a house, you give them clothes, you give them food to eat, and all they got to do for that is work. And then he said, now we give them a house, we give them food, we give them clothes, and they ain't got to work. I'm like, wow.
Oh, now listen, to their credit, they did start off by saying, he did start with, I ain't saying some of them weren't mistreated. He said, now I ain't gonna stand here and lie, Bo.
Oh my goodness.
That some of them wasn't mistreated because some of them were. But that being said, slavery was a pretty damn good deal. Yeah. So let's just say you're about to lose your job. They lost their jobs because their mayor is black. My man was sitting behind that mask, that mayor. He said, yeah. He said, I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised. He said, this is pretty bad. So there in Hamilton, Georgia, two cops lost their job. Now,
be careful driving through Hamilton. I'm just saying.
Well, not anymore. Now you have to be careful going through the town next to Hamilton. because you know that's where they're gonna get hired.
Well, you're right about that.
But
You're
bro,
right
come
about
on, man.
that.
I mean, where do all cops who like mistreat black people go after they get fired? The town right next door.
Yep.
Bo and Luke, we got you. We got you, Bo and Luke. Now I mean, listen, we can laugh about that because fortunately in this case, nobody got hurt. Although you have to believe, oh, I'm sorry, I think we buried the lead. These were not just two regular cops. This was the chief of police and a cop.
Mm-hmm.
This was the chief. So you got to imagine if that's your chief, then that there were some people who had been historically mistreated in that town.
Absolutely.
It just has to be. It just has to be. People will be like, look, I know you ain't gonna believe me, but I gotta tell you what he did. Like, yeah, come on. Bo and Luke, those are the nicest boys that we know.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's Hamilton, Georgia. That's south of the Mason-Dixon. But all the way in Rochester, New York, Rochester police are back in the news again. Now, mind you, I say this because here, I'm looking at like major news outlets and nobody's even talking. I mean, I guess you get this like maybe at the end of a news story. This is why black media is important to talk about this and talk about the importance of black media, especially during Black History Month, to remember that without these kind of places, historically, we would not have our news, our black newspapers, black church newspapers, black radio, and any other kind of outlet. Nowadays, podcasts and others. So a 9-year-old black girl in Rochester, New York was handcuffed. 9 years old and handcuffed. Let's stop right there. That's the first problem. And then as she cried and screamed about, I just want my daddy.
Mm-hmm.
One of the cops told the other, just pepper spray her.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one
saw
was
the video last night.
Too happy to oblige. How do you handcuff a 9-year-old and pepper spray a 9-year-old? Can you explain this to me?
I can't.
This was
I can't
3 days ago.
I can't explain that. And Rochester's got his own share of issues. They had a shooting not too long ago, earlier in the year, that they kept quiet about and then discovered later on that there was a erroneous police shooting that caused all forms of protest in Rochester. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to reach out to our counterpart up there and have her see if we can get her on the show tomorrow to talk about what happened up there. But yeah, man, this is tragic. I mean, if you're a cop and you can't handle a 9-year-old, you don't need to be a cop.
2 cops.
Yes.
There were 2 cops.
Yes. And if you can't handle a 9-year-old, you don't need to be a cop. A 9-year-old little girl. You can't handle her without pepper spraying her? That doesn't make any sense.
And this stuff makes your blood boil.
Oh,
I mean, this is just, I mean, I'm sitting there looking at the video again and just thinking, I'm like, she's 9 years old.
Yep.
She's 9. And crying for her daddy, right. So yes, she's 9 and she's making like threats, but she's 9.
9.
Did I mention she's 9? I've raised 4 kids who've all made it past 9. And at 9, you don't need handcuffs or pepper spray. Because they get really unruly, you just like snatch them up. That's what black folk do. Black parents do to kids who like act wild at night. You just get snatched up. And as your feet are dangling in the air right there, it's like, you gonna do what now? Yes, what I thought. Go back to your room. Go to your room. Oh, Greg Brinkley, I don't know if I should say thanks for this or not, but thanks for nothing, posted, they actually called for backup. 6 cops total for a black 9-year-old girl.
They probably thought she was 30 because they always mistake the age of our kids.
But a Minotaur was able to go into the Capitol and...
He was invited in. You remember the scene where the U.S. Capitol Police just wave him on? It's like, come on.
Lord have mercy.
All right. My mother would say, we're living in the last and evil days.
Yeah, well, yeah. Your mama is right. Mrs. Royster, you are right.
She told me last night after we watched the video, we're living in the last and evil days.
Yeah, I mean, and look, and that's in the extreme north. That's Rochester, New York. You can't get much further north than Rochester. You're pretty much in Canada.
That's right. Next place is Canada. That's right.
So from down in Hamilton, Georgia, all the way up to Rochester, New York, where Frederick Douglass decided to live because it was a cool place for abolitionists and the Underground Railroad. I mean, you can't catch a break no matter where it is. This is so systemic. This is why when you come back to Philly, and to try to make what happened in the summer simply about Commissioner Danielle Outlaw is to miss the complete point about what needs to happen with not just rethinking and reimagining, but completely dismantling and rebuilding policing in America.
That's right.
I mean, first of all, you start by not hiring a bunch of racist cowards.
There you go. That starts.
I mean, it starts with the hiring. It's like, question number one, are you a racist? Well, I thought you guys asked me about, like, you know, can I lift it? No, let's just start there. We have too many problems. Are you a racist? Are you a misogynist? Are you homophobic? Do you hate Muslims? Do you hold crazy ideas like Jewish lasers started wildfires in California? Let's go through all the racist and bigoted questions first. And then, if you pass that, we can move on to, can you run fast enough? Can you jump high enough? Do you like donuts? I mean, seriously, the entire approach to how we bring people into the job has to completely change. Now, you know what I say. That ain't gonna happen until you change who has control of the police department. And as long as they are run and checked, I use air quotes here, by mayors and city councils. Now, I'm not talking about just ours. I'm talking about, you know, systemically by these elected officials who are in bed half the time, well, 90% of the time with the FOP and all these other forces that conspire against us, then nothing is going to change, which is why keep your eye on what happens in Philly. We want to see the legislation Curtis Jones puts out about the new Police Oversight Commission, and most importantly, how those people become selected and appointed to that board. I mean, this is crazy. Rochelle Bilal, our sheriff, who is the former president of the Guardian Civic League, the union that traditionally is started by representing black officers, is now more than that. I know that. She says the Inquirer has no black people on its editorial board. And it sure sounds like it by the stuff that they say. So anyway, we got to take a quick break. And yes, so Hamilton is back in the news, but not why you think. And when we come back, certainly got to talk about the stimulus and the impeachment and some of the other. Stacey Abrams.
We'll talk about it on the other side, though, yes.
Stacey, yeah. Which one? Stop Stacey Abrams or Stacey for the Nobel? I don't know. You pick the story. Stacey, it's never a bad time to talk about Stacey Abrams. She's like a heroine for a number of us. We'll be right back. It's the Power Hour. And if you got to shovel snow, well, wait until after the show ends. We'll be right back.
Happy New Year, Philly. It's Solomon Jones. The pandemic of 2020 blew the roof off of life as we know it and forced us to make radical decisions once thought impossible. Many parents and grandparents turned to the option of a public cyber education. In thousands of instances, they sought assistance from the one true pioneer and industry leader in public cyber education, Commonwealth Charter Academy. Visit ccaeducate.me and exercise your right to choose a safe, hassle-free, student-focused learning environment your kids deserve. CCA delivers elite online instruction streamed directly to the safety and comfort of your living room. They provide a laptop and headset along with internet connectivity that includes financial assistance, all at no cost to families. CCA has been the gold standard in school choice for nearly 20 years. Visit ccaeducate.me and ring in 2021 with a 5-star learning experience. Again, that's ccaeducate.me.
I'm Anthony McLaughlin. Been denied insurance? Call 888-307-0505. Life insurance, age 0 to 85, no examination needed. Homeowners insurance, any home, any condition, same-day coverage. 888-307-0505. Auto insurance, we can have you covered in 15 minutes. Business insurance, call 24 hours a day, 888-307-0505. I'm Anthony McLaughlin. When you need insurance, I can help.
What would you call a joy that is as solemn as it is sweet and knows no bounds? A joy that's beautifully rooted in soul and resilience. This is Black Joy, a joy that reflects pride and honor despite every challenge. AARP believes the power of Black joy is limitless, and through Black History Month and beyond, we celebrate this joy supreme. Join us in celebrating Black History Month at aarp.org/blackcommunity.
The onWURD Podcast. Check out the latest edition of the onWURD Podcast. Join WURD President and CEO Sarah Lomax Reese for a deep dive into everything surrounding the 2020 election. Listen right now using your favorite podcast service or visit wordradio.com/2020 in black. You can also ask your favorite device to play onWURD 2020 in black. WURD Radio. Independent Black Media. You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, Independent Black Media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Dwayne Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler. We are here Monday through Fridays from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. to bring you the latest in news, happenings around Philadelphia, and, of course, our opinion. Now, as we talked about Hamilton, Georgia, we're now going to transition into a conversation about Stacey Abrams. So, first of all, many of the listeners out there who've been following me on the other show know that I wanted Stacey Abrams to run for president. I really did. I'd have been her chief supporter. I'd have taken every dime I had and put it into her political action committee for her to run. She didn't run. I was hoping that she would be the VP nominee. She didn't do that either. She didn't get asked to do that either, although she was vetted for it. I do want to say that. She got vetted for it. But they decided on VP Harris. But, yeah, Stacey Abrams. So the latest news is that now, so yesterday we talked about the fact that Donald Trump got nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. The Black Lives Matter movement got nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. But now Stacey Abrams has been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, and she has been claimed as the modern civil rights leader in America. And I'm like, you know what? It made me stop and think yesterday, because I often think about her in the context of, you know, sort of being a political operative and not so much a civil rights leader. But actually, when you think about the work that she's doing, she's really continuing the legacy of the civil rights movement by doing the voting work that she's doing, making sure people have a right to vote in the South, in Georgia in particular. And so it's real exciting that she's been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. And, you know, I have to admit, I'm torn between Black Lives Matter movement and Stacey Abrams. I'm really torn on this one. In terms of the work that's been done, because I think they actually play into each other. Maybe they'll get a chance to share the Nobel Peace Prize, which would be very nice. But, you know, it was really powerful.
You think so?
They're not going to share, but, you know,
Well,
they're probably going to give it to Trump.
well, wait. Well, there's another person who's been nominated now. I don't mean to I don't mean to further tear your soul on this one. Jared Kushner.
Jared Kushner got nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize
Yesterday.
Oh, man, I'm so upset about that. That's
for
so
his work. Well, I will say this, that unlike Trump, that makes no sense. that kind of makes some sense.
Because of the work he did in the Middle East.
Yeah, behind the scenes. I mean, honestly, this you know, it's one of the things that didn't get a lot of reporting because we looked at everything that they did, you know, through jaded eyes. But yeah, Jared Kushner got nominated, and you know, my guess is the way these kind of things roll, he'll probably get it.
I mean, I can see that actually. His nomination, I don't agree with it, but
yeah, same here.
But I could see how people would pick up on that as, you know, being something worthy of that. But I mean, the Black Lives Matter movement has sparked a worldwide movement. Stacey Abrams has really, you know, changed American politics for the better. So I would, you know, Kushner was a part of an administration that was horrendous and mean and cruel and just evil.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, it's like hard to give somebody the Peace Prize where on the one hand, it's like, yes, let's bring the Middle East together. And by the way, no, the little Guatemalans, they go in that cage. The Hondurans go in that cage.
That's right.
I'm not saying he did that personally, but bro, you sat by when that happened and you did nothing to stop it. I mean, yeah, it's just, you know, speaking of that, so, I mean, you know, what people do in a moment like this, right? How history will remember you. And I think you're right that history is going to be favorable to Stacey Abrams and to BLM, regardless of whatever people say today, whatever opinions people hold, very much in the same way as the civil rights folks. You know, but this, man, but in these moments, though, you know, it's what you do in the critical moment that matters the most. Everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon when it's over. Everybody will swear they were down with BLM and supportive of it 30 years from now, but we know that not to be true. Likewise, I'm watching the Republican Party, and this is a real study on leadership or lack of. I find it absolutely amazing and astounding that we are at a point in our country now where Congresswoman Liz Cheney, who voted against her party to impeach Donald Trump, whether or not it's constitutional or not, it doesn't matter. I think the point is a message needed to be sent from Congress that, you know, bringing a mob and turning them into an army to overthrow the United States government is probably never a cool thing to do.
That's right.
And she voted with the Democrats to do that. She has become the lightning rod of the Republicans. Now, you get why kind of the angry base is against her, but Republican leaders are stripping her of things and want to take, you know, all of everything from her committee assignments. She is a villain for putting the country first. Meanwhile, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene is out here talking about Parkland didn't happen, the shooting, 9/11 didn't happen, you know, Jewish lasers are starting wildfires, and she's being promoted to committees and protected. And now Mitch McConnell has finally spoken against her. She should be expelled from the Congress.
That's right. Absolutely.
Not just simply take your seats, because if somebody does not pay, then at some point, you know, what you're saying is that you condone this, and there will be many more Marjorie Taylor Greenes. And that's not just bad for the Republican Party, that is bad for democracy.
Well, wait a minute, because we're talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, new Congresswoman Cori Bush, who was from the St. Louis area, right, has to move her office because she was attacked by Marjorie Taylor Greene in the hallway of the Capitol.
Verbally assaulted.
Yes, verbally assaulted by this woman. And so she got permission from Nancy Pelosi to move her office because she said she doesn't feel safe. Because one, Marjorie Taylor Greene's one of those that wants to carry guns around everywhere in the Capitol building, because unlike the regular public, congressional leaders are actually able to carry their guns with them in the Capitol, except to the floor, although there are those that have tried to carry them on the floor. And so this has been a whole challenge. This woman is just, you know, Cori Bush, who was a BLM activist, got elected to Congress, and you know, is there trying to, you know, handle his business. What's so funny?
What's funny is, I mean, sometimes I think some of these folk, they understand political theatrics well. Congresswoman Cori Bush is obviously, she's got the theatrical side, because first of all, she's a BLM activist. She is from the St. Louis. You know, my first church was in Missouri. I used to spend a lot of time in St. Louis. And, bruh, all I'm saying is I've seen Marjorie Taylor Greene and I've seen Cori Bush. I find it hard. When I heard the story, like, I was afraid for my life. I'm like, now, Cori, I know you probably just want a new office because being a freshman sucks. And they probably got you in some hellhole at the bottom of wherever the Capitol is where freshmen go. And this is a nice hookup. But do you honestly think for a minute that she was really, really afraid of Cori Bush? I mean, afraid of Marjorie Taylor Greene?
No.
Does she seem like a wilting flower to you? Seriously, this story I'm not saying they don't need to be separated because something bad could happen, but to play like I'm afraid for my life and my staff. If your staff is like you and they're all from the Lou, Marjorie ought to be afraid, gun or not. I'm just saying, bro. I just don't buy it. I don't buy it.
Well, I think it's important to note that this white woman, Marjorie Taylor Greene, thinks she can just accost black folk and say whatever she wants in the hallways of Congress and that she's going to be able to get away with it. I think that that's not appropriate.
But they were going back and forth at each other. They were both giving as good as they were getting. You heard the exchange because, but again, now, and mind you, I still say, though, that there is a real problem. It's not just for the GOP. The problem is for the country. That when you start electing people like this, now there have always been fringe people out there and fringe people within the Congress. Who was the GOP guy? Was it Steve King who just got voted out?
Finally out from Iowa. Yeah.
King is his last name, I think. But he was just as wild, right? I mean, with the stuff that he would say. But you always knew that he was wild, right? It was like he was an outlier and everybody knew it. She is trying to push into the middle. And I mean, again, think about this. Liz Cheney is being chastised by the party.
I know.
For history will say Liz Cheney was a hero in this moment.
Yeah.
But this person, the villain, is being celebrated as the heroine? What the?
Yes. We're all backwards. Like my mama said, the end is near.
We living in the last
some evil days. I mean, look, there's what's it? Bobbert is the other one that's problematic in the Congress.
Who?
Laura Bobbert from California. She's another one, a QAnon person. You got Marjorie Taylor Greene that's problematic. She's down from Georgia. I mean, there are some real challenges that we have with the mindset of people coming in. The fact of the matter is that we do have senators that are either afraid or brainwashed by Donald Trump. I haven't quite figured out which one it is yet. I don't know what he's got on them, because I'm sure he's got dossiers on all of them prepared to release information if they don't fall in line, which is probably why most of them were falling in line. But I also don't know, what he said to them that's got them convinced, or whether they're just afraid of their constituents and that their constituents are crazy and they're going to continue to follow along with their constituents.
Well, see, but here's the problem. All right, so this is the thing. Kevin McCarthy has spoken with her, apparently. I think she actually believes it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, see, Donald Trump is crazy, but he's crazy like a fox. And mind you, what I continue to say almost every time this comes up is that for it's one thing. So Trump can say anything and do anything. As my metaphor for him, he is the high school captain of the football team, can do no wrong, can say no wrong. It's always just Donald being Donald. You hear what Donald said today? What? He said the sky is actually green. That's just Donald being Donald. He's so crazy. Marjorie, you say it, it's like Marjorie is crazy. I mean, like really, it sounds from his mouth, to me, it always sounded crazy, because followers, it's like, it's just funny how she will be taken, or Bobbert or any of these other folk, that's a whole different question. Can they get away with doing the Trump shtick without the repercussions? And I don't know. I mean, now my prediction is this: sitting here in 2021 in February, looking into my crystal ball for the midterm elections next year. I say a lot of things that come to pass in the last 4 years on radio, and I can never find them. So I'm gonna put this on a calendar somewhere, that the show was on February 2nd, that if the Republican Party does not check Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they continue to let her just roll on in the next year and a half, and they continue to chastise those who speak out against Trumpism, that they are going to go down in history as the first party not to pick up seats when the opposing party wins the presidency in a long time. I don't know when the last time this happened, but the opposing, the party in power always loses seats. But I don't know where you're going to get votes with this kind of thing. You are going to continue to hemorrhage votes from suburbs and white folk who got any amount of sense. You're not growing your base with black folk, with brown folk, with Muslim folk, with pretty much anybody other than white folk. And there ain't but so many crazy white folk to go around. This is not a base building project. This is, I don't know what you call this, but my prediction is if they don't change course, the country will change it for them. And then, and maybe only then, will there be penalties for cutting up like this.
So I think they're counting on the fact that 29 state legislatures are in the Republican hands. Both houses and the governorships are in Republican hands. The legislators this year will work on creating new districts, the redistricting process. And I think they feel pretty confident in their ability to maintain both the state legislatures and the federal government by their redistricting process, which of course will be gerrymandered to their base. So they're going to build bases around Trump's people, and these ultra crazy Republicans that are out there, or Trumpicans. I should not say Republicans, they're Trumpicans. I think they're going to build crazy bases around them. So I think that that's what they're counting on, and they think that they're going to be able to get away with that in 2022 and get their seats back, get the Senate back. It's unfortunate, but there's some validity to that process if there are not checks and balances in place at the state level to prevent them from writing these gerrymandered districts. And even if they do gerrymanders and somebody eventually sues, it will take years, literal years, before it will be reversed. And so I think that's a real problem that has to be contended with. I think that's why they're comfortable, but I think that's also why they're catering to the Trumpicans in terms of their rhetoric right now.
Well, yeah, I think what you just said makes a lot of sense. And, at the end of the day, until someone pays a political price, then they're just going to keep on running the same play, right? Because like you said, it seems like it works. I think they are misreading what happened in the states, and that, again, a lot of what happened, this bubbling up where they benefited was from having Trump on the ticket. You're not going to have him on the ticket again in 2022. And so, but also the other fight, like you said, it is about these state legislatures, because it baffles a person to think, how is it that Pennsylvania is so dominated by Republicans in the House and Senate of the state government?
That's right.
And yet you have a Democratic governor like almost all the time. You got probably going to end up with 2 Democratic senators. And if all things were even, Democrats who outnumber Republicans as registered voters in Pennsylvania would dominate the state legislature as well. But Republicans have played that game extremely well, and we need to take a real look at the changes that they are proposing for voting in the next, coming elections in Pennsylvania and these other state houses around the country. They're not going to try to make it easier for people to vote, black folk. They're going to actually try to make it harder. I know that's hard for y'all to believe, because they're just some good old boys. Bo and Luke talking about the good times of slavery, like down in Hamilton, Georgia. Like they had everything. What were they upset about? We give them a house. We give them food. We give them work. Oh my God. That was
the break on that one.
that was the chief of police of Hamilton, Georgia, y'all. We got to go. We'll be right back on the other side. This is the Power Hour. Don't move.
Clark Roofing salutes Black History Month with over 30 years of quality roofing experience, providing exceptional customer service, honesty, and professionalism. For service, call 215-365-ROOF. That's 215-365-7663.
This Black Artist Story 365 vignette is brought to you by Pico.
Welcome to Black Artist Story 365. My name is Envy McKee. Get into this episode where we explore the art and artistry of Nobel laureate Toni Morrison. Toni Morrison is a legend. An American novelist, essayist, editor, teacher, and professor emeritus at Princeton University, but way before the Pulitzer and the American Book Award and the Nobel Prize and the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Toni Morrison was born in Lorain, Ohio, to Rama and George Wofford. She got her BA in English from HBCU Howard University and went on to earn a Master of Arts from Cornell University. She taught English, first at Texas Southern University in Houston, then at Howard. Later in her career, she began working as an editor for L.W. Singer, where she became their first Black woman senior editor in the fiction department. She played a vital role in bringing Black literature into the mainstream. One of the first books she worked on was the groundbreaking contemporary African literature. She fostered a new generation of African American authors. Among other books she developed and edited is The Black Book, which was an anthology of photographs photographs, illustrations, essays, and other documents of black life in the United States from the time of slavery to the 1970s. Listen. Star Auntie Tony's most notable works of her own, The Bluest Eye, Sula, Song of Solomon. Tar Baby was next. In 1987, she published her most celebrated novel, Beloved. Beloved won the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction, Anisfield Wolf Book Award, the Nobel Prize in Literature, and countless other awards, honey. So that's it for this episode of Black Artist Story 365. My name is Envy McKee. To hear more, tune in to The Envy McKee Show, Friday nights, 7 to 10 p.m., right here on WURD.
This Black Artist Story 365 vignette was brought to you by Pico, powering communities.
Celebrate Black History Month at the virtual 29th Annual African American Children's Book Fair on Saturday, February 6th, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. To register, go to the AfricanAmericanChildren'sBookProject.org. The free event will feature authors and illustrators bringing the pages of their books to life with panels and readings. For more information, call 215-878-BOOK. Remember, a book opens up a world of opportunities.
Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. Pretty good ride still here in the Philadelphia area. This report sponsored by Wendy's Breakfast 2 for $4. Now, no major problems here in Philadelphia. Again, reduced speeds, though, as a result of the snow. 95 southbound northeast down through the Vine Expressway. Still in pretty good shape overall. You could find some slowing through that construction. Cottman down through Bridge. Northbound side, that is moving fine. Vine Expressway still light through Center City, Philadelphia. Schuylkill Expressway westbound. Watch for some slowing between University and the Vine Expressway through that long-term construction. Further west, an accident out near King of Prussia off to the right eastbound side. Looks good. PA Turnpike, Blue Route 476 in pretty good shape. 4255, 295 looking good in New Jersey. Have you been wronged by bad breakfast? Get the breakfast you deserve with Wendy's Breakfast 2 for $4. Pick 2 fresh breakfast sandwiches for just $4, like their honey butter chicken biscuit, classic sausage, egg and cheese, or classic bacon, egg and cheese at participating Wendy's for a limited time. Single item at regular price. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Now, a WURD weather update. Here's NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Crystal Cly.
Good morning. Our winter storm not quite through yet. Today we are looking at rounds of some scattered snow showers. So that's light to steady snow moving through, but we could pick up another 1 to 2 inches as this passes the area. 34 is the forecast high temperature for today. Tonight the storm starts to fizzle out as it finally moves away. 26 for the low temperature into your Wednesday. Both Tuesday and Wednesday breezy conditions and a mostly cloudy Wednesday with a high of 34. I'm NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Crystal Cly with your most accurate forecast. Count on it.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. It's Dwayne Royster and Mark Kelly Tyler. Hey, WURD family, have you signed up for your 4WURD membership yet? Join the 4WURD family today for access to special events, exclusive digital content, WURD swag, VIP invitations, discounts, and our printed newsletter, WURD Press. WURD values your support. We dedicate ourselves to providing the best news coverage for our listeners every step of the way. Please visit www.wordradio.com/forward for more details. So come on and join up. Get your membership today. And we look forward to you becoming a part of the WURD Radio family. Can I just say this? We did not talk about the fact that the Republicans in Georgia have organized the Stop Stacey Abrams campaign, the Stop Stacey campaign, to prevent her from being, becoming governor of Georgia because they're so afraid of her. That's when you know you got superpowers. When people are organizing against you and they put your name in it. Stop Stacey. That's the name of the campaign. I'm like, that's a bad sister right there. That's all I'm saying. That's a bad sister.
Yeah, well, you heard Trump. He said Stacey's got y'all all under a spell. Man, Governor Kemp, scared of Stacey? You scared? Trump, you scared too. She beat you?
Let me just say this, though. There are people out there, when I used to talk about the fact that Stacey Abrams should run for president, people are like, oh, she's not experienced enough. She doesn't have enough power. She doesn't know what she's doing. Now, look, everybody's scared. Everybody's scared of Stacey. And I'm like, well, she should have been president.
I'm not saying she shouldn't be president. I'm saying she shouldn't have run. She
shouldn't run?
Not in 2020. She should not have. It wasn't. No, 2020, come on, man. Let's be real. This is America. You know, this country was not going to elect Stacey Abrams. If it was Stacey against Donald Trump, the Democrats would have lost.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, right? Which is actually something you're bringing to. Sometimes being an elected official is not the most powerful position to be in.
I agree.
You know, there are more powerful positions outside of the office than there are inside the office, right? And the fact of the matter is, her name is on everybody's tongues in America, right?
Right.
You know, there's 2 senators that basically owe their jobs to the work that she did. There's a president that owes his presidency to, the work that she did. I think it's important to understand that sometimes, when there's an expression that I learned growing up from my parents, sometimes it's better to be the king or queen maker than it is to be the king or queen.
Listen, those positions are going to be gone in 4 to 8 years, or in some people's cases, 6 to 12. And it's a wrap. It was great. You're the former this, the former that. But, Rick Santorum was a senator in Pennsylvania. What does that get him? Nothing today, right?
He's a Fox News commentator, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm just saying. But I mean, right. But I mean, that's exactly like I said. What does that get you? Nothing. So, I mean, but to be that person that, the Jim Clyburns of the world, the Stacey Abrams is now moving into that. And I'm sure he's probably saying to her, look, I know you got ambitions, you want to do this and that, but trust me, you got a good thing going. If you can hold and continue to build Georgia and keep it solidly blue and spread that love and somehow, let that hit your neighbors. Like I keep saying, Mississippi is primed to be the next Georgia. Mississippi has a larger black percentage than Georgia. It's like 38% black in Mississippi. And so, and a lot of the majority of those folk vote Democrat. But you need someone like a Stacey Abrams who can understand that. Louisiana is the same thing, over 30% African-American population. Those states ought to be more competitive than they are. And I hear you. Now, I know she's going to run for governor in Georgia. I already hear that from really reliable sources. And I think that's great, but I think that does miss the point. But now, because Stacey Abrams had become president this cycle, no, because that's just, America wasn't ready for it. I mean, it's just, black folk in South Carolina knew. Y'all want an old white man. We're going to give you one. This one. They knew it. They're like, no, Mayor Pete, it's coming, but not yet. They ain't ready for that either. They ain't ready for Amy Klobuchar. They're not ready for Julian Castro. They're like, no, all of y'all take 2 seats back. We're going to give America what America wants, an old white man. They say they want progress, but they don't. We know you say a lot of things, but that's not what you want. But I do want to stay in Georgia for a minute, since we've been in Georgia all day. We started with Bo and Luke Duke. About to lose your job.
Oh, boys.
Yeah, if you missed that, go back to the beginning of the show. After the show, the 2 cops who talked themselves out of a job because they would, talk about how good slavery was, and they didn't like Stacey Abrams. They prefer Keisha Lance Bottoms over Stacey Abrams. But Georgia, can I give you a Black History moment real quick?
Black History moment.
So I was really surprised to see Christianity Today had as one of their stories this week, the life of Bishop Henry McNeil Turner. In the AME Church, we have what we call the 4 horsemen, and I always say, really, you got to add Drina Lee in there. You can't talk about, and Sarah Allen as well, and so many other women founders. But the 4 horsemen, and so Richard Allen is obviously the leader of that pack. But one of the people that a lot of folk don't know about, unless you're AME, is Bishop Henry McNeil Turner. First chaplain in the United States military, because he pastored in D.C. during the Civil War at Israel AME. He helped lobby for the first U.S. colored troops division to be made. Once they, made their quota of 1,000 troops, he kept going back to Lincoln and saying, they need chaplain in Rome. He says, you know what? You're right. You should be the chaplain. And he became the first, commissioned black U.S. chaplain. After the war is over, he goes to Georgia, organizing AME churches, and he gets elected out of the Macon area, Bibb County, to the Georgia State House. He and all these other black men, who were elected to the Georgia State House that year, I think it's 1868, get there and check this out. Talk about Georgia being Georgia. You talking about them trying to stop Stacey? They have practice in an old playbook. They get to the State House, say, hey, we're the new representatives from our counties. Where do we sit? They say, you don't sit anywhere, boy. They may have elected you, but we ain't going to seat you. Would not seat them. Elected officials, democratically elected from their respective districts in a fair election, and the House and Senate in Georgia told them, go back home. There will be no governing from you today. We are tossing out the will of the people. 1868 to 2021, the same exact crap.
Absolutely.
That's your Black History moment. He went on to transcend that, obviously. They eventually were able to do some governing. He became a bishop in the AME Church. Yeah, he's a fascinating character. Said when he dies, he said, don't bury me in America. It's too racist. Take my body to Canada.
Wow.
He was a firebrand. You think Farrakhan talked junk?
Take my body to Canada. I love that.
He said, I'm telling you, man, he was like a firebrand. He talked about white people so bad that people feared for his life all the time. He did it in Georgia. He had no fear.
Wow.
His grandfather was an African prince who was enslaved, brought to America, and because he was an African prince, it was a British colony, they could not hold him as a slave, but he couldn't go back, and so he stayed. So that African prince blood was coursing through his veins. Don't tell a black man you an African prince, his grandson, because he will act accordingly. His brother was like, I am the prince. And I'm looking forward to coming to America Part 2, speaking of princes. But anyway.
There you go.
That's your Black History moment. Learn about Henry McNeil Turner. Do a quick Google search. You'll be fascinated by his story.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it. And we're second day wrapping up our show on the second day of Black History Month, and had to drop that knowledge. Of course, we'll probably be hearing a lot more about the AMEs throughout the month. I'm sure about that.
Can I drop this real quick? Thanks, Tawanda, one of our PAs, production assistants. I got to say this. He also was a forerunner for women's rights. The AME Church did not ordain women, and he ordained a woman in his district against the wishes of his brother bishops. They chastised him, would not let the ordination stand, but he said, I don't care. He ordained her anyway. This dude was, man, I'm telling you, he was fierce, man.
Love that courage. Love that courage. All right. Well, listen, everybody, thanks for checking us out here on the Power Hour today. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. to bring you the latest in news happenings around Philadelphia and, of course, our opinion. We appreciate you checking us out on YouTube and on Facebook and being here with us each and every day, and all those listeners that are out there over the air and on the WURD radio app. Listen, thank you, Kwesa, for everything you do, holding it down the boards early in the morning and making it in despite the snow. We appreciate you. Thank you, Dr. Tyler, for holding it down with me in the morning. And we want you to stay tuned now for Wake Up with WURD with Solomon Jones. Listen, family, do us a favor. Go out, change the damn world, because if you don't, nobody else will. Peace.